It's election day. You step into your polling station and you see who you want to pick for president, if that's what's up, senator, governor, House of Rep, mayor. But then you realize that there's like three, four other pages that you've never even heard of, and there's amendments, and there's all these different offices. And who are any of these people? Now, I can't go into every single amendment that's on every single ballot in the state of Texas, but what I can talk about is a very important office in the state of Texas and in all states that we never really talk about at all. On It's Really That Serious, I wanted to talk to a comptroller candidate that I happened to find on Facebook because I found out, not Facebook, on Threads, because I found out that comptroller is actually like the fourth most important position in any state because they control the money. Girl, why did I not know that? I'm pretty sure it's by design that I didn't know that, but I digress. I was going down Bandera. If you're in San Antonio, you know that like as soon as you get off on 1604 and you see the signs for Bandera, there's just a bunch of political signs. At one point, my neighbor was one of those political signs. So I know everybody who is everybody has their campaign signs off of Bandera. And I started seeing like comptroller signs and I was like, who is that? What's going on? But no offense to the white people, it was just a bunch of white dudes. And I'm going to be like really honest. I started getting a little worried because I was like, these feel Republican. And if there's a bunch of Republicans running, I need to probably pay attention, i.e., Project 2025 or something like that. So I go and forget to look this up. I have ADHD. But I was on Threads and they said there was a thread and it was asking about people who are running for political office and stuff like that. And boom, Savant Moore was in the comments. And I said, I am going to follow this man and I'm going to see what's going on with him. And I did. And I could have definitely launched this podcast a little bit better. But because of the fact that the election is literally next week, it starts for early voting next week. I was like, we don't need to do a launch episode. We don't need to wait another week. We need to talk to him right now. We need to get this episode out ASAP because I looked at some of his platforms and he's really great for Texas. I'm going to let him cook and I'm going to let him tell y'all kind of what his platforms are and who he is. And then I'm going to pop back in with a couple of things. So I essentially wanted to kind of talk to you about like, what is a comptroller? What made you think to run for this? What's your background and stuff like that? So I think we should start with me getting to know you. Who is Savant Moore? What's your background? And also, how did you even get started in going for office?
Right. Well, first I want to shout out San Antonio. Two of my friends, they own the Jerk Shack. So if you love Caribbean food, it's the only Michelin star. We served in the army together. So salute to them. Also, a fun fact, my son graduated from Stevens. He played football there. And so I really thank that coach and that school for that. But who is Savant Moore? So I was born to a mother I still don't know. So at 4 days old, I went to foster care.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
lucky for me, two parents born in 1946 and 1945. They met each other at a HBCU called Paul Quinn. They ended up being teachers. And my dad, he became a pastor. My mom was the first black counselor at North Shore High School. They adopted me. They taught me about education so much that I graduated high school at 16 years old. Now, about 2 years, it was after 9/11, I joined the Army Reserve. All right, I joined the Army Reserve and then I went to Howard University. Unfortunately, my father had passed away, so I went active duty. I served 7 years infantry, was an airborne ranger. I still wanted my family to see me graduate, so I went back to Howard. 2016, I graduated. Barack Obama was my commencement speaker, history major, so like it was really nice. From there, I went to Boston. I learned how to code. And there I met a coworker. We started a business. We grew it over 7 states. And if I even backtrack, I've always had a business. I had a business in the Army, a pizza shop. I've been investing since I was 17. At 11 years old, I was getting the Wall Street Journal sent to my house. COVID
Mm,
happened. I moved back home to Texas and I started a logistics company. So for the past 4 years, I've been all over Texas providing you with water, food, pipes from the port. My son asked me to go to a school board meeting. At that meeting, I got 7 Black and brown schools to get a magnet program, $20 million. Unfortunately, the state took over and they took away those programs.
I'm going to be popping in every now and then when there's like a stat or a data point that we might need to look up, just so that way we're on the same page with what Savant is saying and I'm not just putting out whatever information without looking it up. So, all right, to his first point, Houston ISD's proposal to shutter magnet program sparks community outcry. This is from the Houston Public Media, and this information came out January 7th, 2026.
All my children are gifted and talented. I ran for office. I currently represent all of Northeast Houston on the largest school board, $2.5 billion budget. And I've been advocating from City Hall all the way to Austin, PUCT. You can see me with the megaphone at Austin. Like I've been that constituent. I go to literally everything. Now here we are. I'm running for comptroller. The reason I'm running for it, it is the fourth most powerful position in Texas that you don't even know about, and it controls your taxpaying dollars. It's the CFO of Texas, pays the bills. It also has all these programs that you could be using. They got the Promise Fund, which you could be using, putting money in so that your kid can have money when they go to college.
Texas Promise Fund, that is a fund that allows you to lock in the current undergraduate rate for tuition for Texas public colleges and universities. That includes medical and dental institutions. It has to be public, so it has to be like a UT school or something like that. But that's huge because you know, and I know that the cost of college goes up. So if soon as you get your child, as soon as you enroll, as soon as you learn about the Texas Promise Fund, boom, you can join it and lock in those rates for your kids. And I think the biggest part about what Savant is saying is that he wants to teach people about these funds so that way they can get better benefits for their kids. And as much as Texas be talking about kids and how much they care about the children's, that's important. And the fact that we don't know about this is very annoying to me.
But I want to educate people while I'm elected because a lot of people, they'll invest in a 401k, but they don't invest in the stock. And then you grow up 20 years and you be like, I didn't make no money from the stock market because you didn't purchase anything. So that's one thing. Also, there's this program called a HUB program where it was given the opportunity for Black businesses, minority businesses, women businesses, veteran business have an opportunity for state contracts. In the last 20 years under Republican leadership, only 3% went to women, 1% to Black, in the same low numbers. We got to change that. And unfortunately, the person that is the acting comptroller, Kelly Hancock, he removed the program. On day one, I want to restore it. And my goal is for every demographic to at least have 5%. I will be doing workshops throughout the year to teach you how to qualify for those state contracts. Because when we qualify and we become not only subcontractor, but primary contractor, who's the first person that you're going to hire? Someone that looks like you. Where's that money going to go? Back into our community, which ultimately ends up back in the state. So everybody is winning.
All right. So the Texas Hub program is actually something that I heard about previously, but again, ADHD brain, completely forgot it existed. Why? Because I haven't really heard much about it since 2020. And the reason I heard about it a lot in 2020 was because a lot of small businesses applied for the Hub grant, and it it was very important. I was working at Office Max. I was helping a lot of small business owners get their lives together, get whatever funding they could together. I was helping out a lot of people apply for a lot of things, so I heard about the Hub. As of 2025, it did get shuttered. That's no bueno. The Hub program helps people, but you have to be 51% owned by a marginalized group, economically disadvantaged group. So, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, Native Americans, service disabled veterans, women, etc. So, all of the DEI hires of the world can get at least some sort of advantage when it comes to business through the Hub program. As of November 6th, 2025, it was reported by Jackson Lewis, this is a law firm, that the Hub program was overhauled by the comptroller and it was suspended by the comptroller of Texas, the current comptroller.
Another reason that I'm running for this office, I'm over broadband. It is sad to me that I go across this state, especially in rural communities, and they don't have no broadband. They already don't have no hospital under Republican leadership. It's almost 80 counties with no hospital, can't use Medicaid. At least with broadband, they can use telehealth, help them pay their bills, so on and so forth. So that's huge. My goal is for there to be free Wi-Fi within 2 miles of every school.
So this next part, I actually say it in the video. So if you watch the unedited version, I just say it a little bit later. So there is an unedited version of this interview on the channel, so check it out. But for me, finding out that people don't have broadband internet is a little worrisome. I was aware of the fact that rural communities didn't have like access to hospitals and access to healthcare, but not having access to broadband, it makes a lot of sense. I have made videos where I talk about the fact that in rural communities or communities that are less diverse, they have less access to diversity, and therefore they have no frame of reference. Well, less access to diversity. They have no frame of reference for what is actually happening. If you don't have a large immigrant community near you, you don't have any immigrants to say, like, well, there's good and bad ones. Like, you don't have it. People can just say anything about immigrants. If you don't know any black people, people can say anything about black people, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that sounds about right, when it's not. If you look at it, our population density, the six most population dense places, so like San Antonio, Houston, El Paso, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, those places, the most diverse places have they're blue, and diversity typically means voting for other people's rights. If you know somebody who is an immigrant, if you know somebody who might be a DACA kid, stuff like that, you will probably not vote against them because you can see what happens to them. You'll vote for things that help disabled people if you see and know more disabled people, things like that. And so it has been one of my biggest efforts is to reach out to rural communities with data that helps them. I might say it again. I'm going to say it later on, but people don't even realize that even people who are MAGA don't realize that our current government isn't even helping them with what they want to do. Even the bigoted stuff that they want to do. Like they're trying to get out illegals, if you will. Ted Cruz has been in office for how long, and he hasn't done it, and he's not going to do it because illegals benefit people who are funding him. But you won't know that if you don't have internet access to look all this stuff up, because let me tell you, it takes a lot to look it up. So that's a little bit of a rant, a little bit of a sidebar. But for me to find out that people don't have broadband internet, again, something that is we're over here getting 5G ground wire ether, like we're so far past broadband internet. So it is shocking to me that there are communities that don't even have it, and it's something that the comptroller could just give them. Not gonna lie, most of the stuff you can't see it in the interview because Zoom just has it to where you can only see one person. But like half of the time, I'm either shocked, and the other half of the time, I'm like, "Ooh, that's tea." So just putting it out there.
Got the federal funds. Why aren't we using them? I also will be overwatch for the school vouchers. I'm a teacher. I teach sixth grade English. I see inside the classroom we don't have the resources, but I know only 42,000 people applied to use the school vouchers versus the 5 million children that use public education. A lot of people are doing pay to play politics. Abbott allowed a company, Odyssey, no bid contract, to get $50 million of our taxpaying dollars every year to overwatch the school voucher. You go to the country, there's some places, the closest private school might be Lufkin. And it's only K through 8 or a daycare. It's not even a high school. The rural communities cannot use it when most times they top employer is who? The public school. The only person they can go to for their education is a public school. If we're 30, 60 miles from a hospital, sometimes even a Walmart, where are they going to go to that private school to use the vouchers? So I know that there are some Texans that want to use it. I'm going to do my job with fidelity. You want to use it, I'm going to do right. But I'm telling you, I'm looking for the exit clause for an out-of-state company that didn't have to bid for a contract to be taking our $50 million. I also want to prove with this budget that we can properly fund public ed. The main reason that I ran for this is because when you look at the numbers, why are we 42nd in the nation for public education? Why are we 49th for high school education? Why are we 47th for paying basic allotment per student? You compare to the number one state, Massachusetts, they're paying over 22,000 per student. We're a little bit over 6,000. That's a huge gap. But we have an economic stabilization fund of $28 billion. We can safely bring it down to 10 bill, put 15 billion into public ed. We're properly funded, and within 4 years, we can get the fund back up. So that's my main initiative, to make sure that our future is properly funded. Our children deserve the best education, and currently they're not receiving it. And even more importantly, our teachers are being disrespected, not getting paid what they're supposed to be paid. They don't have the
Mm-hmm.
resources that they're supposed to have. We're in a classroom with gifted, special needs, emerging bilingual, all mixed in the same class. You're not able to give every child the resources and the attention that they deserve. That model is not working. That's why
Mm-hmm.
we're in last place. I also want to audit every single agency, including mine. A big thing that people got to remember when they vote for me, I'm not doing this job by myself. I will have 3,000 employees. I have the vision. Working class Democrat. I got my CDL logistics. I've been working with my hands, but because I'm on a school board, I realize a lot of times we look at everything from the macro. So that's why I play undercover boss, to be in the classroom to see with my own eyes. Because you know, when you go to your job and the supervisors come and you know they're coming, you're on your best behavior. But it's different when you in this classroom day in and day out.
Now, what he just said just now was very interesting to me, and it was when I started to really kind of be like, okay, Savant is the kind of guy that I can get into. I could dig this dude because I am definitely one of those people. I was one of those managers where I didn't just want to be full. I used to be a retail manager, but I worked my way up from being a retail, like from being like just a regular associate to being a specialized associate to then being the section manager to then being an assistant manager. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to always do was to make sure that I was active in the store and still like hopping on the register every now and then because you don't know what your team is going through unless you're on the team. Not just a manager sitting in the office, you have to be on the team. So for him to be like, yeah, I'm going to be a teacher in the school and also on the school board because I want to know how things are affecting me shows me that he takes initiative and he's not just going to sit there and like be in Austin and not get active, not get his hands dirty. And that's something that we need so much in Texas is people getting involved with the community. Again, they're getting rid of magnet schools. And one of the biggest things that the people said that are a part of those communities that are losing magnet programs, this is not based on what the community wants. You can make that decision if you're in Austin. You can't make that decision if you're in the community with the people. And that I feel like that was when I started to buy in fully, as if I wasn't kind of already bought in already. I was really like, okay, you haven't said anything weird yet, so I'm here for it.
And so it's important that everyone comes and vote, because this affects every single Texan, because it's your tax-paying dollars. And then there's things that people don't even know about. Unclaimed property. There's billions of money just sitting there. I'm over that. I don't like what ICE is doing, but this comptroller is over the sheriff immigration program. We
Mm-hmm.
should not be sending people that are benefiting our state away. But why did Mr. Abbott, our governor, put that in the comptroller office? Because you wouldn't be concerned about it. You wouldn't be thinking about it. So it's all these little things that are important for you to know.
Okay, if you don't want to hear me rant about ICE and the inner workings of how the Texas oil field and Ted Cruz and his background and funding, if you don't want to hear that, skip ahead about 2.5 minutes and I will be back on topic, I promise. Okay, bye bye. Just a really quick aside, I'm going to get on my soapbox a second about the whole ICE thing. I know I touched on it a second ago, but like I need to say these facts. Even if you are MAGA, the people who are currently in office are not helping you with your want and your desire to get illegals out of Texas. They're not. I really feel like it is important for me to inform you that they have had ample years and there is still a problem with illegals. Ted Cruz has been in office like 10 years and he hasn't that problem hasn't been solved. And you'll see from like Trump and all these people that ICE arrests are up. But that is the wording is very specific because ICE arrests are up, but people being in the US is not down. During Colin Allred's campaign, the Jesselyn Nungaray story came up, and it's a very terrible story about two men who brutalized a girl. I think she's 10 to 13, I forgot. They brutalized her, and then she's not here with us. Um, that's a terrible story, but one of the big things that stuck out to me was the fact that their boss hired them and was the one who turned them in. Their boss, who was in Houston, they were both documented to have been arrested by ICE in El Paso. So this goes to the whole industry in the state of Texas that Ted Cruz is backed by, which is the energy industry, which is that this is also just like a whole separate industry in general, is that there are people who wait outside of ICE facilities for men who get released and then they take them to jobs, either in Texas or across the US. It doesn't matter. But in that case with Jesselyn Nungaray, somebody had picked them up outside of an ICE facility and took them all the way back to Houston for a job. Ted Cruz is backed by energy companies, and those energy companies rely on jobs like that. And just going really fast into the energy companies, I am so sorry, Savant, that I'm taking this detour. You can skip like a minute. I think I've been talking for 2 minutes. You can skip 2.5 minutes, and we'll be good. But if you look at Ted Cruz's funding, it's the energy companies and like oil fields. Donald Trump promised that he was going to drill baby drill and that he was going to help the economy by drilling for oil. And currently, the oil industry is suffering from a lack of workers and a lack of funding because Donald Trump did not fulfill any of his promises. And as I told you already, Ted Cruz didn't really care about illegals because they were working at those oil field jobs. Now that ICE is cracking down, and people are getting snatched literally off the street from work because of outside forces, not because of Ted Cruz, not because necessarily of Abbott. Abbott's allowing it to happen. Because of those outside forces being so prevalent in Texas, now there's not that many people drilling for oil. Now there's not that many jobs. It's bad. So just that really 2 minute aside to let you all know that even the people who you voted for to do the things you wanted to do are not doing the things you want to do. I digress.
I also want to have my own advisory council of data scientists, economists, finance experts, but also people from the community. Someone that's from the rural community, someone that's from San Antonio, someone from all regions, so that you're in the room and you're not forgotten. Because oftentimes people just become numbers on a budget. We got to remember these are real names, real cities, and you're affecting people in real time.
Whoa, whoa. I gotta say that if I had a question, you answered it. And a lot of the things that you say align with a lot of values that I definitely promote. And the big thing is that these are like nonpartisan benefits. This is not caring about rural communities is something that I am very, very Like, that is a top issue for me, just because I always feel like they don't have the information, and knowing that a lot of them don't even have broadband to get the information,
Right.
that makes sense. And it's helpful for me for information dissemination, that like if people can't see the info, they're susceptible to getting misinformed, and they don't even know they're misinformed because
Right.
they don't have any other information. Now, in one part of Savant's intro, he had talked about doing workshops. And for me, I love stocks, but I have done work with lower and middle class and working class people about how to save money, because I work in insurance, and finance and insurance, they end up being adjacent a lot. So I work with a lot of families on how can we better save money? How can we spend our money better? Stuff like that. And there's not a lot of financial advising that is related to people who don't have five to $10,000 saved up, don't have extra money to invest in crypto or stocks, or portfolios and dividends and blah, blah, blah. We're trying to figure out how we can save up money just in case one of our laptops break. We're trying to save up money for just in case somebody has to go to the hospital. So I wanted to know, like, what are we doing for working class individuals, and not just like financial literacy for how to invest in stocks, which I can't say that stocks are not important. That is something to definitely do, but like that's a later goal. It's a little bit of a later goal. If you can't, go on vacation, you don't need to get stocks. If you can't afford to be sick for a week, you don't need to get into stocks. So this is where Savant addresses kind of that concern.
Right. Yeah, I'm the only candidate that has a personal finance book. It's called Release of Debt. So I know what it's like to
Mm,
be in debt, pay it off. I had to do the Dave Ramsey. I've been investing. So we got to get back to the basics. Me, I will in my workshops have financial literacy. Just you know that 70% of people don't even have $400 emergency fund. If they
yeah.
lost all four tires, they don't have $100 for per used tire. So we got to get back to the basics of that. Also, like me being a minister, you see so many people that are GoFunding their funerals. They can afford life insurance if they knew about it. But it's like those basic things you have to educate people about, because you're correct. Life is life. They don't have it. I'm glad you brought about life and needing the education. I want to prove that our budget can bring up minimum wage. Why are we still paying $7.25 in 2026 in
Yes.
Texas?
Yeah,
The
I
cost
remember
of living going up.
my first job here when I moved here. I started off at 750, and then I got a raise to 795, and everybody was like, "Ooh,
Right.
look at you! That's a promotion!" And I was cashing my little Walmart, my checks at Walmart because I didn't have a bank account, and they were like, "Ooh, Diane, that's a lot of money. You made $123 this week." And I, looking back on it now, I'm like, how was I functioning with $123 a week at best? And I'm happy that we're going to be doing financial literacy. That's something that,
And just
and
take away those words like budget. Sometimes people don't want to hear that. Let's just have a money plan, like plan for every dollar so that you can prepare for your future. We all know a birthday gonna come up. Hey, put a little to the side. You know,
mhm,
Valentine's Day this weekend, put money aside. You know, Christmas coming. We gotta be proactive. Like we gotta stop being reactive. Because why am I running? Because people that have been in Austin haven't been caring about us. So it's time for us as a community to care about ourselves so we can save ourselves. So that's why I'm doing that plan. And also want to add, got to think about like teachers with their retirement. We still don't have no COLA attached to their retirement system.
mm,
Cost of living is increasing every year.
yeah,
I'm young, I'm 40, but I remember when gas was 99 cents. Well, you see what the price is now. So you
yeah,
gotta think about little stuff like that.
yeah. And I'm going to be honest. This is for the viewers and stuff like that. I have an education background. My background is in education. However, when I moved to Texas, I realized that I worked retail and became a manager of like a print section. So I was working. And I realized that to be a teacher, I would be getting paid the same thing, but have way more work. And I was like, why would I become a teacher and essentially make almost the same exact pay as a manager at a retail store and have to deal with all the stuff that you said with the mixed demographics and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really the focus on education. Also, I just want to say I really want to commend you for doing the undercover boss thing where you're like, I don't want to just be talking about it. I want to know
Right.
what I'm saying and what I'm doing. You I'm very impressed. I wasn't expected to come in and just be blown away, but I can't imagine Texans hearing this and not realizing how just generally beneficial. Like me, as somebody who's into politics and stuff like that, I know that our money is going all over the place and that we're deporting people, but also bringing them back and then having them work somewhere else. And like, I know all these things, but it sounds like a conspiracy until you see the numbers,
Right.
until you figure out where the money is actually going. And I appreciate that part of your platform is transparency and being like, I want to audit my office, I want to audit everybody, and I want an advisory committee for myself. So that way we can learn and be you can be held accountable for stuff that's going on. Now, my last and most important thing that I wanted to ask Savant was how can we as black and brown people, as immigrants, working class people, how can we learn more about these offices? Because honestly, like who even knew how much a comptroller controlled? Even me. I consider myself somebody who's very well learned in politics, and I didn't know what a comptroller was. So, how can we learn more about these offices, and where can we go to learn more about them? And he gives a very good answer. And I'm just going to be honest, TLDR, he's just like, get involved. You have to just show up. Now, he does acknowledge that there are like the system is against us. And to some extent, you do have to look at creators like me and other creators like Howdy Politics is a great one. Angel Carroll, Erica. There are so many people who are very, very well learned people in the state of Texas that you should definitely look out for. But also, if you see a meeting, go to a meeting. And that's actually something that in Hawaii we used to do all the time. We like there there were groups of us that would just like camp out and we would take shifts about who was going to do what and where and what we were going to say. And you have to get organized with your community if you want things to get done, because it is a pain in the butt to do. So let's get into what he has to say about how you can get involved. How can we as black people and black and brown community immigrants, where can we even go to get started learning about these offices? Because I feel like every time I go to vote, suddenly there's like 16 pages and I'm like, I swore I was just voting for 3 people. Who is a bursar? What is this? Where did this come from? And I know what I do is I like to bring up amendments that people need to talk about. But even me, my blind spot was I have no idea who y'all are.
Right.
Where can we even go to learn all this stuff?
Well, we got to do the League of Women Voters, the Voter 411, but we also got to support creators like you that break it down. There's a lot of black women creators that are breaking it down so that everyone in layman terms can understand it, because it will go over your head if you really don't have the time. Like, that's why I really hate politics, because if I go to Austin and want to wait at a committee to even speak, I got to sign up at 9 in the morning, and you may not speak till 5, 6, 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
City Hall, 2 o'clock during the day. Commissioner Court, 10 a.m. during the day. And working class Democrats like myself, we are at work. You don't have time to do it. And so our resource is why people, she didn't tell me to say what I'm about to say, but sign up for a Patreon so you can get this information to know about these type of positions, because they are very important, especially when it comes to your taxpaying dollars and you not knowing where it goes. And there's so many things that's important. Also, as constituents, make the time to show up at things. What hurts me most is when I don't see my community at the school board meeting. But the influent community, they're there, they advocate, and then you wonder why their neighborhood looks the way it does and they get everything because they're advocating. They're looking at our voting record, they're looking at how many of us show up. That's the power. Don't ever think that your vote doesn't matter, because it does. But when it's low turnout, they're not going to do nothing for you. And we have no excuse now. There's Google, there's ChatGPT, and there's Shades of Diane. You have the resources in 2026. So I'm an alpha. If you pledge D9, everybody knows this poem. Excuses are the tools of the incompetent, which build monuments of nothingness, and those who specialize in them are seldom capable of anything else. It's no more excuses. We are all educated. We all have our cell phone and our computer. Use it, Google. And if all else fails, talk to someone like Diane so that you know, because on Tuesday, February 17th, we should
Hmm.
all be lined up to vote. Texas deserves more. But there's other positions from Senate all the way down to all those judges. They need to be voted for. It's a lot of positions that matter.
Okay, so this is editing, Diane, and I just wanted to pop in to say that there are 56 elections that are on the ballot right now for Bexar County. Bexar County alone. I don't know everybody else's county. I only was able to download info for my county. I went through, and there are currently 46 judge positions, 46 Supreme, like Texas Supreme Court justice. Uh, just it's a lot, and you need to review it before you go vote. Now, if you're in Bexar County and you're like, "Hey, I appreciate Diane's opinion," you can check out my Sway. You can search Sway and Bexar County voters Shades of Diane, and you'll find it. I'll say that my picks were, if they were legislative, they had good ideas, whether they were Democrat or Republican, they had good ideas for Texans. And if they were judicial, they did not just take into account victims' rights, they also took into account the fact that there are a number of people who have mental illnesses and mental health issues that end up in the legal system, people who have had drug and addiction issues. So, it was more of a holistic approach and that balance, as opposed to just being like, put away the bag,
Yeah,
go
So
vote.
and
please go vote.
that's a one thing I really want to commend you on is that you're going for again a position that not really many people know about, and for what we don't realize and what I find every single time I vote is that a lot of people are uncontested. They're just going and going and going and going, and you're like, well, why isn't anybody running? Like, there's I forgot what his name is, but there is one guy, and he has been working in the records office in Bexar County for I don't know how long. Every time I vote, he's the only person there. And I swear that that man is, I've been here for 10 years. I think he's always been in office. And it's just because he keeps running uncontested. Because again, we don't even know who and where we don't know. And also, it is so hard to figure out how to even sign up to get involved, to get the who and the what. And I feel like getting somebody in office like you is the start of it. Because I worked with small business owners
Mm.
when I used to work in the print department. And I heard about the hub. I heard about small business loans and programs and grants. And you're right, I haven't heard about them since. I haven't
Right.
heard about them since I think 2020. Last time I heard about it, everybody was printing stuff out. Then boom, there was no nothing. And I, this gives me a lot of things to think about and a lot of things to talk about with people because I genuinely can't imagine, besides the fact that next to your name would be a parentheses D, that there's any reason for people not to vote for you. I will look into what the other candidate is running on, but I do recall being like, oh my God,
Mm.
I
We
guess,
have
I
to do
guess.
a better form of communicating from this office, because everyone is not going to see the mail, go to the website. So I got to send SMSs. I got to still visit where you live and not just be stuck in Austin, so that you can know the information. In every small business, you have to deal with the comptroller office. If you get that little letter, hey, you didn't pay your tax, even though you didn't have to pay the franchise tax, you see that letter and it's so outdated. I have to modernize this website. I got to modernize our communication, because it is 2026. We got to move this office forward, and we got to be a benefit to you to help you grow your business, because majority of the businesses in Texas are small and medium. Those are the first people that are hiring people, that are providing for families. But we got to remember that these owners still got to make a profit so they can provide for their own. So it's like we all need each other. And I just want to be a public servant that remembers that you didn't pay that $300 for your LLC to fail. I got to help you succeed, because you're going to help your community succeed.
Savant, I don't even have that much more to say. I don't have that much more to ask you, because you covered it all. I appreciate the community focus, because people know I am very community minded. The whole reason I do what I do is because Black and brown and immigrant communities, the number one target of misinformation. And by
Right.
the time we get the real information, we're just like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Okay, yeah, now I didn't heard about this. What am I like? We always end up with the most misinformation, and then we find out so late that you feel helpless. And I feel like having somebody like you in office who is going, you said it, and this is something that I have an issue with a lot of politicians in Texas, is that they never come back. They leave and they get an office, and then I never see them again. And maybe there's a town hall meeting if something goes left, but after that, they gone. And so I appreciate that you're like, we got to get back into the community. And my experience working with small business owner and also working with the immigrant community is that don't tell Mr. Office Max this, but the store is gone. But when immigrants used to come in and try to get their papers done, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard, the immigration process costs thousands of dollars. And the
Mm-hmm.
paperwork alone costs a few hundred. So when people would come in, I would just be like, hey, you get your immigration papers free. Like, I'm not going to charge you to become a citizen. Then they come in and then they start working because they got their papers for free. They get to do all the stuff, starting families, going to schools, all that kind of stuff that gives back to the population. And I'm really intrigued to see where this is going to go when you get office, because I'm not. I've been convinced. I didn't know who the other dude was really. I just remember looking him up and being like, "What? Why do I care about you increasing the ICE budget? I don't care. I don't care. We almost couldn't afford to feed people in October, and we had to
Right.
do fundraising. I do not care about ICE. So, thank you so much for
Because
this.
a 10-year-old shouldn't be coming to me in the classroom saying they are afraid of masked men, and that they're afraid for their family, and all they want is to just get the education. We shouldn't be living in this time. And the worst thing that think people aren't talking about, there's a lot of invisible masked men in Austin and Washington, D.C., smiling in our face, but behind closed doors do everything in their power to make sure that we don't succeed in life. And that sucks. The Hispanic community does so much for us. Our roads, the homes that we live in, the food that we eat, they contribute daily. And yet there are people that are trying to remove their contribution to this. Me as a Black person, you as a Black person, we know it the best, because they've been doing that for us for over 400 years. And I don't
Yeah.
want to see any other culture being mistreated. And so my job is to represent all Texans, because we are all Texans. If you're a Black Texan, what is it in with? Texan. If you're a Hispanic Texan, Texan. If you're a white Texan, Texan. It does not matter. We got to remove all the the isms and the titles and just go back to humanity and be in Austin. And if you had a public servant or a politician, you would want them to do the job for you. So why, when you go and raise your hand and you take your oath, you forgot that oath that you took. And so I always tell people, if I was willing to die for my country as a soldier, imagine what I would be willing to do for you in Austin.
Now, this is like a really good sentiment by Savant, is that he's not for a specific Texan. And to me, the stuff that he talked about, it should be a nonpartisan, like, yeah, no, this guy is great. The only thing that would detract you from voting for him is the fact that he has a parentheses D next to his name. And I don't think that you should not vote for him just because of that. Now, there are so many other things about Savant that he said in this interview. Like, he says that, hey, I'm a veteran. I went out during 9/11 and I handle some business. Why wouldn't I be willing to help Texans? And I can't argue with that one.
Like, you didn't know my name when I was 17, but I was willing to die for you. And now that you know who I am today, remember that same person I was when I was 17, the same person right now is 40. And I'm going to do my job for you because you deserve it. Like, I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. I want to see an Austin that does its job. Because my 40 years, I've been seeing people not doing their job. From my neighborhood not being improved, to me driving throughout Texas. And I see two things. One is beautiful, right? But I also see neglect. Republican leadership has been neglecting their own constituents, and it has to stop now. So I hope everyone, February 17th through the 27th, you go and vote. March 3rd, vote. And then you got to come back in October and November and vote again. Every single election after that. So we can get off of this hamster wheel and we can actually move forward.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Now, on the podcast that I'm going to do where I know the people just a little bit better, and, maybe it's my friends, something like that, it's going to be more casual. So we'll get to talk more about things that are not as serious. Again, it's going to be more casual. This episode, I kind of got to ask Savant, like, hey, besides politics and finance and stuff like that, what is something that you just, care about a little bit? And he got to tell me a little bit more about Savant. And we got a freestyle. So you tell me what comptroller is giving you a freestyle? What comptroller went to Howard University? Shout out to the HBCUs. I don't know. I feel like if you want more for Texas, you should vote for Savant Moore. That's all I'm gonna say. And I'm gonna let Savant wrap it up for us. Now, this is a little bit of a surprise portion of the interview. Is there any non-official, non-political thing that you would consider important that you think is like, it's actually really that serious? It's really that serious that you want to just tell people about? It can be about the classroom. It can be a personal thing. I know one thing I talk about, my sister, she's a microbiologist, but one thing that she talks about that's really that serious is the fact that they don't use brass in music. And my thing is like, hey, we don't talk, there's no background singers in music. We need to bring back background singers. Is there any topic that kind of would maybe show us more about who you are and things that you're interested in outside the office that you're like, this is serious to me and I take this serious, but it is completely unrelated to what I do?
Well, I'll talk about me as a teacher. Let me show this real quick. I'm doing whatever it takes. I got everybody Valentine's things for my students to listen. I actually like to rap, so I freestyle with them in class to get them engaged. I buy them their Takis, but I share like my personality and like my history so they can know that I was just like you, normal. And so that's the same thing to constituents. I was that person. I didn't know how to sign up at a meeting. I was in my overalls. I got to give her Miss Kathy Bluford Daniels her flowers. She allowed me to speak at the school board meeting, and from there, I got involved. So that's what I want to share. Like, even if you don't know something, just show up. And whatever job that you're doing, be cool with your coworkers, be cool with these little kids, because it's important. You don't know what impact you're gonna make in someone's life. Like I just met you and you made an impact in my life, right? So we just gotta be impactful. Like that's I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, but I wake up every day happy. It's a peaceful day, and I just want to give the best of myself in what I do. So that's what I would share. Like I always give your best.
Yeah, and also I love that you're doing that for the students because another thing that I talk about is mental health, and in school it is the worst when other people got Valentines, and I don't know if they still do the classroom Valentine thing, but you see your friends and they got other stuff, and a teacher giving out some Valentines, we stand. Also, I'm very interested in the freestyling. We're gonna have to revisit that another time because I want to hear about this rapping and freestyling. When were you even doing that? When did you have time to do that with all this stuff going on?
I can do 10 seconds so that you know it's off the dome. So right
Okay.
now I'm on Shades of Diane trying to tell everybody about the comptroller office, but I need you to vote on February 17th because Texas deserves more. I done seen it from the Panhandle to East Texas, all the way to the border in the West. That's El Paso, but I'm really from Houston. I'm in the classroom right now. This interview can't last long because I got to teach these kids how to pass their STAR. But I wish that we would be teaching them how to love because there's people that's running on hate. I hate what I see, but we got to put the ice away. But I'm really cold. I'm an alpha though. And I hope that you vote for me February 17th. Savant Moore, I'm so grateful for you. It's just a freestyle. You saw it was no beat. So there you
Yeah.
go. You saw no beat. I
Yep. Off
freestyle.
the dome.
I
Again.
appreciate you.
Yeah. Again. Really fast. When did you have time to start freestyling, spoken word? When did you have time to do all that while you was being an
Hey, we
alpha
busy. I'm
and going
so
to
busy.
school, being
Yeah.
a veteran?
I done had a busy life. One day they gonna make a movie about us. You gonna be on the movie too.
Another message from Editing Diane. I did not record this, but I really felt like a sense of optimism. I felt more confident as a voter after talking to Savant because he told me so many different things that I hadn't already known. And if I walked into vote and there were 46, no, my bad, there's 56 total seats up. There are specifically 46 judges up. If I walked into that and there were 46 judges and 10 legislative, oh my goodness, I would have been so confused. So I'm happy that this conversation led me to go do more research, and I hope that this does the same thing for you. So I'm gonna go. Apparently, it was really that serious for me to have to come back and do two swipes at getting this together. And I hope that it was that serious for you and also that you take it seriously in the future because politics and local politics are very, very important. All right, y'all have a good weekend, and I hope to see y'all Tuesday or anytime between February 7th to the 27th, and also March 3rd. Don't forget, March 3rd is the last day to vote, but February 17th to the 27th is early voting.
Thank you so much. I got work to
Make,
do because
make sure people go to savantmore.com to learn more about me too.
yes, because we all deserve more. I
Yes,
like
we
that. I
do.
like that slogan.
We do.
All right, I'm gonna let you go. Go teach the children. All right, you have a good rest of your day.
All right. Have a
All
good
right,
one.
you as
Peace.
well. Bye bye.
Bye.